Hello everyone, you are all welcome to these new video lessons. This is the last one from the fifth module on narrative medicine with deep into graphic medicine, narrative and spirituality. Several years ago, the English-speaking world discovered the potential and usefulness of comics, graphic novels, or drawings, or even illustrations in medical practice. It is a powerful resource that can be used in teachings, communications, health promotions, or even therapy. Definition, more or less this one. Combining scholarly insights with visual narrative and a conclusion in common form, establish graphic medicine as a new area of scholarship. Demonstrates that graphic medicine narratives offer patients, family members, and medical caregivers new ways to negotiate the challenges of the medical experience. Discusses comics as visual rhetoric. The term graphic medicine was coined by the British physician and comic author Ian Williams. The American cartoonist Justin Green was credited with contributing to the autobiographical comic genre in 1972, when he published Binky Brown Meet the Holy Virgin Mary, a reflection on his sufferings from a compulsive neurosis. Recently, the term graphic pathographies, illness narrative in graphic form, was coined by Green and Meyers to refer to a subgenre of comic that addresses the patient experience of illness. Dr. Williams, together the American NK Service, a nurse, teacher, and comic book author, started the graphic medicine movement. The team they started continues to grow, as well as their activities, and there are now 10 congresses dedicated to this work. Anyone wishing to delve into this fabulous universe also has the book The Graphic Medicine Manifesto, written by the sixth pioneer of this movement. In a simple way, we can define graphic medicine as the use of comic or graphic novels, illustrations, and infography as tools for health communications. Although graphic pathographies offer many educational and clinical benefits, few empirical studies have evaluated their effectiveness already, and medical educators have not widely incorporated that into medical school curricula. In these lessons, we focus on identifying resources and areas of applications. For example, English and Spanish websites where to find resources that can illuminate or stimulate work in the field of spirituality. This one is the English website, this one is Medicine in Graphica, it's the Spanish website, but you can take a look also in this group of Facebook. Of course, you can have a more detailed look at this website after these video lessons. But also, we have the exchange space such as congresses. This one, Graphic Medicine Conference, is the one who will take here in Chicago on July 14. This is Graphic Medicine International Conference. These tools has been used in patient care. For example, this one is an example to promote public awareness of various diseases such as diabetes, mental illness, HIV. Graphic pathographies have also been used to help patients better understand what to expect from their illnesses and find meaning in their experience. This is very important for spirituality care. For instance, a physician might recommend that adult patients with type 2 diabetes read the mysterious symptoms, a story about type 2 diabetes, which follows the character Alicia from the onset of her diabetic symptoms to her diagnosis and the impact of diabetes on her daily life. Now, the use of comics is something is not new, of course. Among coming magazines, True Comics deserves special attention. The first issue appeared in April 1941 and debuted, along with other comics, with the one devoted to yellow fevers and Dr. Walter Reed and his colleagues. It was such a success that in just 10 days, the 3,000 miles copies of the magazine, 300,000 copies of the magazines were sold out, and it was published monthly instead of every 2 months as planned. The first issue was followed by 77 more, in some with diverse and fascinating episodes from the history of medicine were reported, like this one, or like this. Where there's smoke, there is dangers, was published by the American Cancer Society in 1965. It was distributed in schools and health centers from its publication until 1978. Ladies, wouldn't it be better to know? Was also published in the 1969 by the American Cancer Society to inform women about the importance of having a pap test or pap smear to prevent cervical cancer. Graphic medicine have been used also in medical education. Comics have been used to illustrate complex concepts, and an instructor have reported that improvement in motor skills, visuospatial skills, writing of course grade is associated with reading of educational comics. Since Green introduced the seminar graphic histories and medical narrative in the Department of Humanities and Internal Medicine in Pennsylvania, graphic pathographies have become part of the elements that the medical humanities have incorporated as a didactic tool, and the other professors, encouraged by the teachings prevents, have also begun to use them. Here I leave, unfortunately only in Spanish. This one is a book, open access, of course free, that addresses the comic are a resource for education among medical students. You can look for it in the website and download it free. Or this other example that you have here, the translations. I don't read it. More examples about papers that address what can medical education learn from comics, or other example in this area. On other occasions, comics are used as a therapeutic tool, which is used to work on, for example, the reconstruction process after the illness. Here, example about cancer and the embodiment of a life with cancer, or the idea of working with co-creating narrative and graphic vignettes of lived experience with people affected by dementia. But the current use, the primary use, is focused on the ability to illustrate complex illness experience, to collect the illness of relative patients in a way that medical records are not able to do, or at least in the same way, completely way. Let's look at some examples. Like here, I don't wanna die. Sorry. No, I'm not dying. It's the translation of this comic. It's about the experience of a woman with breast cancers. The first one, Miguel Gallardo, tells us from first hand about his experience of being diagnosed and treated for a brain tumor during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, including fears, emotions, communications, problems, the fears about the futures. The second one is about the process of growing old and the horizon of possibilities beyond stereotypes. In general, nobody is taught in life to face death on a day-to-day basis, and as a professional, the feeling of knowing that your patients won't get very far. However, it's not all about saving lives, curing, or rehabilitating. It's an autobiographical comic book, this one, Viva la Vida, about the experience of a nurse working in palliative care. The second one, the author interweaves experience from her childhood and adolescence with her grandmother as she recounts her grandmother's cognitive deterioration after suffering a stroke. One of the most recently identified public health problems about loneliness. This one, another example, Journal of Health Psychology. The examples are numerous. I will go a little faster here, but it serves to direct the attention. For example, addictions, problems, introduction to psychology. And of course, we could talk about the whole production of graphic materials with the comic epidemic. You have here some examples. You can take a look to these websites. Their examples are enormous, very different. Here we can add more. You can take a look to the websites also. Some books, some of them are best-selling books. This what? Pathographics, The Lady Doctors, or this narrative of a journey through Parkinson in my degenerations from his own perspective. More recently, dissociative identity disorder related to recently released Moon Knight series on Disney Plus, graphic public health, ontology and roadmap. One of the most famous, of course, from Ian Williams, The Bug Doctor. You can read the commentary on the New Yorker they made for him. Or this one, Mom's Cancers, Cancer Chronicles, the journey through the diagnosis and treatment of the titular mom's lung cancers. Feast tells the story as a caregiver of his mother. He described the discussions, which are heated at times, with her sister and mother about the illnesses. The story features an honest look into the difficulties around caring for a loved one and around navigating the healthcare systems. The comic beautifully illustrated symptoms and emotions around cancer and cancer treatment. Also, of course, comic about reproductions and the problems about pregnancies or unwanted pregnancies also. You must take a look at social media. They are sharing a sample of this one. This one is an example, Jar to Medicines. But we have other social media, more examples of this work, more work. This Dying for Attention, this is one very, very famous. You can take a look. The experience in a nursing home care, or about the end of life and dying, this one. In the field of spirituality, we still have to work on the productions of materials, concrete materials, and particular materials. But it seems clear that they could fall under the following. One, of medical education, bridging the gap between knowing about the disease and knowing about the experience, offering then the experience of illness and the relationship with spiritual care. Two, offering a tool for patients who are going through the same situation, offering other experience or inviting them to narrate their own in this more graphic way. Three, offering professionals new ways to measure and incorporate spiritual care in their professional daily life. Are you there to implement this resource in the field of spiritual care? Thank you so much. See you soon.